Hi everybody, I'm Joshua Orro the Mustang Prince, and welcome back to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. And I know it's already late at night, but, well everyone, once again it's St. Patrick's Day. In other words, it's a wonderful day to be green, and today we're going back to Oz again. Now, if you may recall, last year, I took a look at two recent Oz films. One that received mixed results, and one animated one that for no reason got a lot of hatred from folks. Of course, the ones I'm talking about are, in fact, Oz the Great and Powerful from 2013, which included a bland wizard, and Legends of Oz Dorothy's Return, which was packed with Bryan Adams songs, and a bunch of celebrity voices who haven't heard in years. So, which Oz movie am I going to take a look at today? Well, it's not going to be Tom and Jerry and the Wizard of Oz, that's for sure. Yes, I know I already rented that film a few years ago from Netflix, but I don't think it's worth getting blogged on my show, I don't think. Because two of my favorite reviewers, Huey Toonmore and Isaac the Media Hunter, have already blogged it 2 years ago, and they pretty much described it better than I can. So instead, let's go back to my high school years. In spring 2008, not too long after I saw Wicked at the Pantages Theater in Los Angeles, and after I became a godfather, I came across two old Oz films on Netflix. Well, the first one was Journey Back to Oz, which starred certain people like Liza Minnelli, Mickey Rooney, and Ethel Merman. In my eyes, it was okay. I mean, Liza did great voicing her mother's old role, and the songs were alright. Now, what about the second Oz film that I came across? Does it still hold up after all these years? Well, let's find out. Released on June 21st, 1995, the movie is Return to Oz. Now, for the plot of this film. Now, in this movie, it's been like 6 months since Dorothy has returned home from Oz, and she's been getting insomnia. She has been going on about Oz and her old friends so much that Aunt Em takes her to see a doctor. She promptly escapes from the mental hospital and wakes up in Oz with her pet chicken, Bellina, who can now talk. There, she meets a whole bunch of new friends, and they set off to rescue the Scarecrow from the evil Gnome King, who has found her ruby slippers and used them to lay waste to the Emerald City and take over Oz. So, my thoughts? Okay. This movie is a great one, sure, but compared to the original classic from 1939, it's dark and creepy, which is what Oz is known for. Magic, wonder, and its horror. Remember that, Oz haters from last year? But now it's time to move on to my Mustang notes. Now, Walter Murch began development on the film in 1980 during a brainstorming session with Walt Disney Pictures, with production chief Tom Weheat. It was just a finishing expedition on both their parts. Murch remembered, but one of the questions he asked was, what were they interested in, what they thought would be interested in? They said, like, another Oz story, and Tom sort of straightened up in his chair because it turned out, unbeknownst to him, that Disney owned the rights to all the Oz stories, but they were particularly interested in doing something with them because the copyright was going to run out in the next 5 years. The film is based loosely on the second and third Oz books, The Marvelous Land of Oz from 1904, and Ozma from 1907. The element about Tik-Tok being the Royal Army of Oz derives from Tik-Tok of Oz from 1914, in which he is made the Royal Army of Oogaboo, and also makes frequent cries of "Pick me up." That book was itself based on dramatic production. The Tik-Tok Man of Oz from 1913, and Murr also used the book Wisconsin Death Trip as his historical source of the film. Murr took a dedicatedly darker take on Baum's source material than the 1939 adaptation, which he knew starting out would be a gamble. Between the development period and actual shooting, there was a change of leadership at the Walt Disney Studios, with Will Hitt being replaced by Richard Berger, and the movie's budget increased. Once shooting began, Murch began to fall behind schedule, and there was further pressure from the studio, leading to Murch being fired as director for a short period. George Lucas and other high-profile filmmakers, including Francis Ford Coppola, supported Murch in discussions with the studio, and Murch was reinstated and finished the film. The film was made without the involvement of MGM, the studio that made the 1939 film. No approval was necessary because by 1985, the Oz books on which the film was based on were in the public domain, and the subsequent Oz books had been optional to Disney many years earlier. A large fee was paid, however, to use the ruby slippers, which were still the intellectual property of MGM at the time, as the ruby slippers had been created for the 1939 film to replace the silver shoes from the original stories. Now, while I did think this movie was great, I did, however, discover that some of the greatest critics, like Roger Ebert and Leonard Maltin, didn't like it because it's so dark compared to the original classic. And, in a way, they're right. It is pretty dark, but most of the movie is suspenseful even in the beginning, where Dorothy goes to a mental hospital to get shock therapy. Yeesh! And I 95% know what it's like to be in a situation like that, because I had to spend a whole day at the UCI Medical Center in order to have doctors fix my leg, and thank goodness I will never go through shock therapy at all in my life. Anyway, some of the scenes in Oz, like the Emerald City, the Palace of Oz, and the Gnome King's Mountain, made the movie really intense. Now, let's talk about the cast of the movie. Our main heroine, Dorothy Gale, is played by Theresa Balk. And this movie is, well, believe it or not, her big screen debut, not counting her roles from television. I believe Fairuza's role as Dorothy is equally as good as Lea Michele, Liza Minnelli, and Judy Garland's times. In this case, mostly, Fairuza is quiet and she's adorable in this film. Now, since the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion don't appear too much in this film, let's talk about Dorothy's friend, the Scarecrow, played by Justin Case. In this film, he's similar but a little different compared to the original Scarecrow. It's because he looks kind of puppetized in this movie, but his outfit almost looks the same in a way. But his hat is replaced by a crown in a way. Now, let's move on to Dorothy's new friends. Now, since Toto does not join her in this film, he is substituted by Bellina, a chicken from the Gale's farm, voiced by Denise Breyer. Now, in the beginning of the movie, before she gets her voice in Oz, it is said that she has been having a hard time laying eggs. But while she is a funny supporting character, it makes me wonder how she managed to find Dorothy in the river before they got to Oz. And despite that little question, there is one thing I found she did in the beginning that was very smart, which was finding a key from Oz at the farm. And, spoiler alert, she does manage to kill off the main villain. Well, more on him later, anyway. Next we come to Tik-Tok, voiced by Sean Barat. And he's my favorite character in the movie. I mean, he's a wind-up robot who has, winders that control his mind, movement, and voice. He serves as the Royal Army of Oz, and he's said to be not alive, in a way. Now, the thing I find really cool, what he does, is swing his arm around to attack anyone threatening. And I think it kind of gave the guys at Junction Point Studios inspiration to make a basher that looks like him in Epic Mickey 2. Overall, Tik-Tok's a great character. Next up is Jack Pumpkinhead, a living jack-o'-lantern voiced and puppetized by Brian Henson. Now, for those who don't know about him, he's been working with anything Muppet-related ever since the death of Jim Henson. And in my eyes, he seems to do a really great job working with them. But anyway, back to Jack. The first time we see him is in the tower when Mombi locks Dorothy away. Jack does tell Dorothy that he was made by his mother to scare Mombi. More on her later, though. Now, in my opinion, Jack is a decent character, too. And he almost made me think of Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. But my one problem with him is he moans a lot throughout this movie. Dorothy's last new friend is a Gump, voiced by Lyle Conway. Now, while people might find this guy a bit forgettable, I find this guy to be a real helpful character. Now, let me describe him like this. He's an animal head tied to a sofa with leaf wings and a broom tail to make transportation for Dorothy and the others to fly over the deadly desert to get to the Gnome King's mountain. In my opinion, the way Conway voices the Gump almost makes him sound like one of the animal heads from the Country Bear Jamboree. Now, for those who don't know, they are still around in California at the Winnie the Pooh ride. Next we come to one of the scariest characters in the movie, Princess Mombi, played by Jean Marsh. Ugh. Now the scariest thing about Mombi is that she switches her head with different ones so she can be a different beauty every day. Yikes! And she carries the key to her head cabinet on her person at all times, even when she's sleeping. What's even scarier is that when Dorothy tries to take the powder of light from Mombi's cabinet where her original head is, it's discovered that all the heads are still alive. Ugh. Man, that scene was really intense to me. Next we come to the other scary characters. They are called the Wheelers. They're a group of crazy clown-like gangsters who have wheels on their arms and legs, and their laughs just made me cringe while they're running around the Emerald City chasing Dorothy. But luckily they're not very smart, and they do take a nice butt-whooping from Tik-Tok. And next we come to the main villain, the Gnome King, played by Nicole Williamson. He, along with his other gnomes made of rocks, are made with stop motion, which in this case is called claymation, and it's provided by the Wilven Studios, now called Laika today. This guy conquered Oz using Dorothy's ruby slippers to petrify everybody and turn the Emerald City to ruins. Now there's one thing I do like about him. He can sort of be a fair game player, like giving Dorothy and her friends a chance to find the Scarecrow. And his room filled with knickknacks, antiques, and ornaments almost look like something you'd see at stores like TJ Maxx or Ross. But the scariest thing he does is during the climax, where he makes his lair look like a living hell. Man. And lastly, we come to Princess Ozma, played by Emma Ridley, who I included on my top 11 other Disney princesses list a few weeks ago. Now, it's time to move on to my final words in this movie. Overall, Return to Oz is a fantastic film. While it does contain some things that are dark, intense, and scary, there are still some parts that are really enjoyable for everyone to see. I give this film a 79% out of 100. Well, that's all for today. This is Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, wishing you a happy St. Patrick's Day. Mustang Power. The heck? The door's jammed.
Hello, Mustang.
Oh, no. Anti-Josh. Never thought for a minute I'd ever see you again. How long's it been? 4 months?
At least so.
And let me guess. You're the reason my door is jammed, right?
Correct. You're not going to be going anywhere for a while.
Why, might I ask?
Well, it's time I place you under house arrest.
What? House arrest? What is the meaning of this? I didn't do anything bad.
Well, you have no idea. Consider this my revenge for you using your keyblade to blow my face. After all, after what I did earlier, letting in a certain black and white princess's butterflies to take away your territory's color.
Whoa, wait. You let in Ivy's butterflies into my territory?
Yes. And after you praised that special with the help of that pesky little Princess Sophia, you took a leave of absence by running off to Florida with that New Horizons group for a week and temporarily shut down your show after one of your pathetic little theater friends passed away.
Hey, Scott's death is none of your business.
Really? And then after you got things started again this year, one of your blogs from last year became an Oscar champion. And you made a positive reaction to that animated George Lucas musical movie. And conspired with Disney and served an evil pharaoh.
I told you before when I blogged Transformers 4, I don't have to be like every other critic out there. I have the rights to my own opinions on my show. And secondly, I support Disney because they're my heroes in my life. And lastly, that Egyptian role is only a character I played in theater. So anyway, if those are your excuses for trapping me in my room and handcuffing me, then what can I do to get out of this predicament?
Well, Allow me to answer your question with a question of my own, Mustang boy. Tell me, are there any bad films you've seen in theaters last year that you've forgotten to blog?
Well, to be honest, yes, there's actually 3 I've forgotten to do.
Well then, if you want to get released from this sentence, you need to blog 3 of those films that you, and only you, consider the worst from last year. Capiche?
Fine. Alright, Anti-Josh, you got a deal.